Working toward changing the world is a noble goal, while hoping for change to happen is what most people do. However, what if you accepted reality as is and worked within its confines? What would happen then? You can waste years trying to change a system that doesn't benefit you, a system that you dislike, when you could just be accepting it the way it is. The truth is, society is not fair. It is not perfect and it is not just. And it's hubris thinking that a system that has been designed the way it is and has been set up the way it is for decades would change all of a sudden just because you want it to or you wish it to be. That's hubristic. And worse, it's an uphill battle. Hello, I'm Trenzel. I'm here for your self-growth, and today we will be talking about the power of accepting reality in the world the way it is. Now, my friends, for most people, there are two paths before them. There's the path where you try to change the system, or you hope for change, or you put forth effort toward changing society, towards changing reality, toward changing our system. And then there's the path where you accept the system as is, and you work within that system for your own benefit. Both of these paths are legitimate, but only one of them is an uphill battle. When you're working toward changing the way things fundamentally work, you're fighting against the current. You're moving against the grain, which requires more energy, more effort. Whereas when you work within its confines, you're flowing with the system. Things become a bit easier for you. A great example of this is people's jealousy or enviousness or outright hatred sometimes of people that are wealthy or rich. We even have the mentality that society is skewed toward the richest favor, toward the favor of the people that are in power, toward the favor of the elites. And it is. That is a correct statement. It is. But people rarely ask themselves, what do I do knowing that? We're so ready to give our power away to a politician that, in the hopes that they can change things, in the hopes that if we vote right, society will become more equitable. Wealth would become distributed more evenly and more equally. But we're in a capitalist society, and so long as that is the case, wealth will always be distributed unequally. There will always be people that are more well off than others. That's how capitalism works. If your argument is that wealth should be distributed a bit more evenly, rather than so dramatically, well, that's a fair assessment. However, in 1929, just before the Great Depression happened, wealth was distributed so unequally to the point where they had to come out with all these reforms just to get wealth back distributed right. And that was called the Golden Age or the Gilded Age. And now we're entering in what is called the Second Gilded Age, where it's happened all over again. I suspect that eventually reforms will have to happen where just like it happened before, because society tends to be circular. Events keep playing out over and over again. So I suspect the reforms will happen, and then society will have a tendency once again to go back to the way it was before, where wealth is unevenly distributed again and concentrated at the top. Reforms are pulled back, and wealth is once again concentrated in the hands of a few elite people. Knowing this fact, you might feel disempowered, but for me, and I would suggest for you, to not let this disempower you, to not let this make you feel bad, to accept that this is the way capitalism, this is the way America, this is the way the system, this is the way most of the world is set up. And it's been set up like that for a long time. Wealth, power, and influence tends to congregate and tends to concentrate in the hands of a select few individuals. This is a consequence of the way our reality is structured. Perfect socialism is when wealth is distributed evenly. But no one really wants that, because if one person really works hard and deserves more of a share than the other person that didn't work as hard. And so we want an uneven share. We want the people that have worked harder and deserve it more to get more. And yet, for some reason, when we take that to the extreme, in the case of people that are multi-billionaires, when we take that to the extreme, to the logical, because billionaires are a logical extreme of that. If we take that to the extreme, now we're saying, no, that's not right. We should pull back the wealth. Well, how much do you want to pull it back? Because no matter how much you pull it back, these people, as a consequence of capitalism, the way the system is made up, these people will still become insanely wealthy. You want equality in a system that isn't fully designed for that. It's designed in human rights equality. We're going toward that, of course. But in terms of capital equality, it's not designed for that at all. And I don't think it ever was. I struggle to find a single point in time where that was the case, actually. There was always elites, kings, queens. We've just changed names now. Now they're just super rich, the super wealthy. So society isn't fair. It isn't just. It isn't even. It isn't equal. But accepting that fact frees you. It liberates you. It's not about nihilism. It's not about making it depress you or making yourself feel horrible about it. It's about accepting that reality so that way you learn to navigate the system correctly. To my point, people are often complacent, so they will blame individuals toward the top. They will blame people where the wealth is concentrated at. And they'll say, oh, I want my fair share of this, or I want my fair share of that. But I urge you to really caution here and ask, do you deserve that? You can say, well, do they deserve it? Well, think about it. If a person does something that's high risk, high reward, there'll probably be 100 people who have failed at that same thing. But you only concentrate on the one person that succeeded. For example, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. There could have been another 100, maybe even 1,000 people that tried to found an Amazon, that tried to build a website similar to Amazon. There probably was 100, but we don't know about them because they all failed. Amazon was the only one that succeeded. And now, since that person succeeded and exceeded extravagantly, we point the finger, we blame, we are upset. But they took the risk and they succeeded. And yet I find it interesting that we're willing to take the risk for a lottery ticket, which has a significantly lower success rate than founding even a multi-million-dollar company. We're willing to take the chance there when it's 1 in 200 and something million, 1 in almost 300 million. Because it's easy, because it's simple. But starting a multi-million-dollar company, that's not easy and that's not simple. The solution I'm getting at is, if you know that society is structured to benefit the people at the top and to benefit the economically well off, and to benefit those that have a concentration of wealth and power, then the question isn't, how do I make society more equitable for me so that way they are not excessively wealthy while I am sitting here impoverished, which, by the way, is still a legitimate question because we do want to be paying people fairly, obviously, because when it works in excess, it has a tendency to backfire, and then the system has to correct itself. After all, we can't have a system based on consumers if no one can consume. So obviously, excessive financial instability, excessive wealth inequality is not good for anyone. However, we so rarely ask the other question. How can I get to the other side of the equation and become wealthy myself? If I know that the middle class is being shrinked, then that means, and this is my hypothesis personally, that the middle class is shrinking. We're getting less for our money. We're getting paid less. And so people are getting squeezed. And so what's left? What's left is two categories: people that are wealthy and people that are not wealthy, or people that are rich and people that are poor, however you want to frame it. Now, there will always be a middle class because by definition, it's the middle income. But that middle income will buy you less and less and less. And we already see that happening. We see that happening in housing, where rents and mortgages have skyrocketed and house prices have skyrocketed. Probably in a bubble. Child care, health care has always been exceptionally expensive. And so on and so forth. We see it playing out. Where the only people that are getting ahead with this and doing really well off with this are the people that are massively wealthy. And knowing this, we ask ourselves, how can I stay the way I am right now while getting the maximum amount of benefit? Because that's what you're really asking. Instead of asking, how can I get to the other side of that? Now, mind you, I'm not going to sit here saying that that's not a worthy question, that's not a worthy goal. Because again, it creates a huge problem when you don't have a healthy middle class, when you don't have a healthy number of consumers, when you don't have a healthy marketplace where everyone is well off. It creates a huge amount of problems. But assuming that if that ends up happening, that suddenly, okay, people that are wealthy is going to pay their fair share and everything's going to be all well and good. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you have a mindset where you're struggling for money and it's difficult to acquire money, that's not going to change just because the wealthy disappears and now we're sharing wealth a little bit more equitably. That's not going to change. There is some level of personal responsibility here too. But that's getting besides the point though. Let me go ahead and get to my point. You want to get to a position where you're asking the question, how can I work the system in a way whereas I become the elite? And not even the elite, you could just become upper class. You don't need to be rich to be well off and to be successful and to be good. You just need to figure out a way to work the system whereas you become a person that is an upper class citizen. Upper class in terms of wealth, in terms of socioeconomic class. You do that, you win. But you're so focused and fixated on changing the system, on changing the way things are, on saying the system is not designed to help people like me, so I need to vote my way into power and so on. Well, guess who controls it, who's in power? When it was Hillary versus Trump, Trump was already an elite, and Hillary was just completely establishment. They were both backed by very rich people. I'm almost positive of that. So it's rich people choosing who will be president, and then you picking of the two choices they chose. And you think you could vote your way out of this? The only way to become a politician that is big in this is to have the support of people that are rich or that have a massive amount of money. So unless they're crowd-funded by a massive amount of people, they really won't even stand a chance. So we have rich people picking who will be in office, who will win in office. And then we pick from the two they selected. You have money, you can run for office. You don't, well, you're screwed. We can't vote our way out of this. To prove my point, I want you to ask yourself, in all the time you've been alive, how often has a politician made a noticeable, substantial difference in your life in terms of a positive impact? In terms of an impact that was so positive that without their influence, you'd be significantly worse off right now. You might be able to count maybe one or two if you're lucky. Most of you are probably saying not a single one of them. So if we're constantly voting for people, and our lives don't noticeably improve, what does that tell you? Who's going to save you except you? You have to accept reality as is. You have to accept the situation as is. And it's not about pessimism. It frees you from depending on a politician to come and save you, because our government is fickle. But when you earn skills, when you earn knowledge, when you level up yourself, and then you level up your money, most of the time that's going to be stable. That's not going to get taken away from you. If you build a fortune one time and do it smart one time, win one time, as long as you're smart about it, as long as you're smart with investing it, you will never lose it. You only need to do it once. But what's interesting to me is how few people are trying. We all want to go into business, or at least a lot of us do. Not all of us. No, not all of us. But quite a selection of us want to go into business in one way or the other, or are interested in going into the business in one way or the other. And business can be some of anything. It can literally be some of anything. And so many of us are interested in it, but so few actually do it. So if you actually say, okay, let me go ahead and do it. Let me go ahead and take the steps and try to do it. Why do so few of us actually do it? And you know, that's actually a good thing. It's a good thing for you because, again, because of capitalism, we're all in competition with each other. Even me. I'm in competition with other YouTubers right now for your attention. We're all in competition with each other. So if you want to win, you have to play the game. You have to compete. You have to compete. And you have to compete whether you want to or not. Because even if you want a job, you have to compete with other people who want the job. You have to compete. So why not compete in something that gives you a massive amount of returns? We think of starting a business as risky. But think about college for a second. You get your degree. You're not guaranteed the job. You get the job. You're not guaranteed to keep it. And your retirement isn't guaranteed either. And it takes you several years to climb the corporate ladder from when you start, because you start at college. 4 years, because God knows an associate's degree doesn't even exist anymore. It's pretty much done. So 4 years to get the degree, a year or two to get technical skills, because you need more training than just one degree. Now you need certificates. Then you need on-the-job experience, which will be another 1 to 2 years. You look up, 7 to 8 years have passed, and now you specialize in the field. Now you can get paid really well. And we view this as a tried and true path, so we view it as a safe path. But then we can't even put 2 years into a business? I think those mindsets were set up in us, programmed in us, to keep us small, because the system does need cogs. It needs normal people that's not going to be doing too much, not going to be trying to become elites themselves. So getting back to my original point, it's good for you that not many people are starting, because it gives you an edge, because now you have less people to compete against. And the few people that you do compete against, who do start, even few of them will be consistent, and even fewer of them will try to produce quality. See what I'm doing here, friend? See what I'm doing here, friend? I'm trying to set some knowledge on you. I'm in my car. I'm doing something different now. But yeah, the point of this was to break the notion that was to take some personal responsibility and break the notion that the system is so broken and rigged against us. Because again, maybe that is completely factual. In fact, let me say I completely agree with you. The system is rigged against us. You know what? I agree with you. It's completely, totally rigged against us, and only a few make it. And of those few, they just massively get returns, and they don't spread the wealth to others, and they just keeping their greedy sons of you know whats. They stank. They some stinking that Mark Zuckerberg. He's just terrible, terrible peoples with the privacy policies. Okay? Let me give that to you. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit and wait for a politician to solve it for you? How's that worked out for you? Are you going to sit and wait for them to spread the wealth? How's that working out for you? If you know that things are becoming, if you feel like your life is, now if your life is getting better and better off, tell me your secrets. Tell me your secrets. Let me know. I want to do it too. But if your life is stagnating or getting worse off over time, whether stagnating or getting worse off, or it's getting better but not as better as you would like you see little small incremental growth where it's not like doing all that well for you. It's like, it's good, but could be a whole lot better. I'm not happy with it whatsoever. It can be a lot better, which I suspect most people are in that situation. What's going to happen when wealth inequality reaches its logical conclusion? What's going to happen then? What's going to happen is that we're going to have two classes, people that are on top and people that are on the bottom. We're not going to have anyone in the middle anymore. We won't have anything stable until the system corrects itself. And who knows how long that'll take? Who knows which politician it'll take to have that happen? It's not a guarantee. So you can't depend on it to happen. So knowing that wealth inequality is just getting worse, not better, knowing that prices just keep getting more expensive instead of getting better, knowing all of this, and knowing that politicians aren't really doing much to help right now, and when have they, knowing all of this, what are you going to do about it? It's a noble thing to try to change the system. That is very noble, or even to want the system to change, or even vote for change. That's noble. It's always noble, but people have been trying to do that for years with mixed results. But here's the thing. We've made good strides in human rights, whether it be homosexual, LGBT, black people, interracial marriage, all the good contraceptive rights that females have, and all the and lots of rights of suffrage, voting rights for females. We've made a lot of strides in terms of human rights. But what about economic rights? We talk about, the economy, but what about economic rights? Anyone arguing and marching for economic rights? Oh, well, there was a march on Wall Street. What did that solve? What did that accomplish? The civil rights movement had tangible benefits. Heck, I even think the Black Lives Matter movement has some tangible benefits too. It puts systematic racism on people's radar. It puts the term white supremacy on people's radar. Those terms didn't exist a decade ago. Who is going to save you if you cannot save yourself? That is the question I leave you with. And it's a very important question to contemplate. See? I did it. See? Hello YouTube, I'm Trenzel, and I make self-growth content because I believe that becoming your authentic ideal self is a life goal worth pursuing. And if you like this video, check out one of these. See? See that? It's a sexy video to my right and to my left. What was that? Did I do a good job? Oh yeah, by the way, please like and subscribe. I need a subscriber. I need every little bit I can get. Bye.